Hey team, welcome back to History Group. This is now week 9, I believe, of History Group. Week 10, I did have big plans for. We have a problem now, though. I am not going to be here next week. I'm going to be out of town, so I could still do this and upload it and have another staff play it for you guys, or we could figure something else out. If you have a suggestion on what we should do, give me a list of suggestions, a list, more than one, and I will give you a star card if you do that. Yeah, some of our options that we could do, I could find another history movie, like I know you guys like The Imitation Game. I could try to find something again that you guys would like. I could make one of these and you guys could just watch it with another staff. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen. We'll find out. That being said, though, let's get into week 9 of History Group. Okay, guys, this week we are going to go over some religion. This is a very haphazard way to cover religion. It's mainly going to be Christian thought and Christian theories of religion, I guess you could call it. We're going to get into other things. We're going to talk about other religions. But we're going to follow that through Christian hegemony into the more recent movements, more minor movements away from the Christian norm. But yeah, let's see. What did I call this? Crisscross, Christian hegemony, history of religion and spirituality in the global West and recent counterculture movements. The recent counterculture movements is really what we're going to get to at the end there. Or not the end, but eventually. A few things. One, why did I put my hair down? Because last time I wore my hair up, you guys all made fun of me. So yeah, I don't want to do that again. And then what is the global West? So you see down here, it says global West, history of religion and spirituality in the global West. Let's take a look. Every week I have this problem where I hit the key and nothing happens. Boom! Global West. Here's a map. Oh, I messed up there. Okay, this is not off to a great start. The dark blue is the global West. We have Australia, New Zealand, most of Europe, Canada, and America. And then we have some countries that are, yeah, West, but not really West. Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, the former Yugoslavs, South Africa. And then you have the West. Like, are they the West? Russia, some of Asia there. Whoa. This is not going well. Should have had a Dr. Pepper. And then we've got South America here. The West generally refers to Western civilizations, civilizations that started here in Mesopotamia, where all civilizations started, and it moved west, just like this. Follow the mouse, follow the mouse. West. Everybody do it with me now. Follow the mouse. West. One last time. West. Okay, that's how it happened. And then the West expanded. You know, they went over here and down here. They even went all the way over to here. Anyways, yeah, so that's the West. The new possible sponsor that we hinted at earlier, Spirit Airlines, Chicago style, did not want to sponsor us. The United States Air Force did not want to sponsor us. Maybe Spirit Airlines will sponsor us. Now I know what you're thinking. Madeline, why do we want Spirit Airlines to sponsor History Group? Well, because it's hilarious. Spirit Airlines has a lot of jokes. So let's go ahead and hear some Spirit Airlines jokes. Okay, so that was Spirit Airlines. Maybe they'll sponsor us. After the clip though I doubt they will. We will continue to look for a real sponsor, though, because the budget is literally zero and things aren't cheap. I really want to get better editing software so I can make, better videos. But hey, that costs money. And I have no money. All right. I wasted it all on these t-shirts. Anyways, before we get into Christianity and the Abrahamic religions, let's talk a little bit about Charles VI. Charles VI was the King of France, okay? And the man was crazy, just absolutely crazy. He became king when he was like 11, and that probably didn't help. It's a lot of stress to put on a kid, right? Hey, by the way, you're king now. Like an 11-year-old, when I was 11, if you had told me that I'd be the queen of something, I would have gone crazy too. But this guy, he just went above and beyond crazy. He for a while there, he thought he was Saint George, and his advisors had to keep telling him, like, dude, you aren't Saint George. And he was like, I am Saint George, I know it, and the seal of my family is like a lion stabbing an elephant or something like that. And his advisors were like, dude, you are the king of France. You are not Saint George. And there was this one time somebody had tried to kill one of Charles' advisors. And so Charles, he was like, all right, well, that ain't going to happen. So he said, let's get an army together. Let's go over the guy that tried to kill him. And so they're going, and this guy shows up, this random guy shows up, and he's like, hey, king, you can't be here. Like, I don't want you over here, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, all right, just disregard this guy. So they all kept going, but this guy was following them, like, go away, I don't want you here. And the king, he's kind of weird. So this is starting to get to him, and he's starting to think like, oh my gosh, we aren't allowed to be here. So eventually, when the army stopped, Charles, he like got off his horse and everything. He put everything down, but this guy was still like, you can't be here. You can't be here. And so he was thinking like, oh my gosh, we can't be here. We can't be here. And eventually he just believed it. And so he got his sword out and he started just slashing at people. He killed several of his men and he was shouting, you traitors, you can't be here. And finally they got him and they knocked some sense back into him. They were like, you are the king. You can be here. What are you? Don't listen to that random guy that followed us for miles. Eventually, Charles over here, he got a wife and kids, but he was still just wild in his head. And so his wife and kids would be at his house and he would forget who he was. He would forget who they were. And he'd be like, hey, who are these people? And why are they in my house? And they would be like, well, my king, that is your wife and your children. And he would be like, quit calling me king. All right, I'm not a king. All right, I'm Charles. Sometimes he'd be like, I'm Saint George, but he'd like, that's not my wife and those are not my kids. And they'd be like, yeah, that is your wife and those are your kids. And he was like, I don't believe you, but here's the deal. They won't leave me alone. So I want you to do whatever they say so that they don't come near me. Just keep them occupied with something. And so they'd keep doing that. And eventually, as he got older, he was terrified that he would break at any second. Like he wouldn't let anyone near him because he thought he was made of glass. Like legitimately, he thought like if you poked him, the man would just fall apart. So he had iron rods installed in his clothing to keep him up in the event like a wind came that was too much. He really thought he was going to shatter. So that's the story of Charles VI. Interesting guy. Let's talk religious beginnings, okay? This is going to be a pretty gross oversimplification, so don't take any of this too easily. Mesopotamian societies, middle of the world, modern day like Iraq, the Levant, so Israel, Syria-ish. We start to see worship being done. And worship was surrounded on different things. Sometimes it was people. Sometimes they would have like a sun god or a moon god. Sometimes it would be worshiping. A lot of it was weather because that would create crops where you could eat. So we started to see people worship things. But there were always many different gods. There wasn't just one god. There was many. The first really like one god, Aten and Akhenaten. Aten was a sun god in ancient Egypt, and Akhenaten was a pharaoh of Egypt. And Akhenaten said, we are not going to worship all the other gods. We are going to worship the sun god, and we're going to focus on Aten. And so big palaces were built, devotions to the sun god of Aten. And this was really the first time that monotheism, or the belief in one god, started to really take hold. It didn't last too long, though. After Pharaoh Akhenaten died, they stopped doing this monotheism thing pretty quick. Let's go to the Greeks. And Greeks, obviously, we've all heard of the Greek gods. A lot of people still believe in that today. But that really set up the whole, God thing. It reinforced religious structure, and combined with what the Greeks were doing politically and as a state, it reinforced the idea that religion was something serious that needs to be taken seriously. Also, the Greeks introduced philosophy to the mainstream, so we started to see things like that. Pagan holidays, I don't know too much about this, guys, but like Christmas, I've heard was a pagan holiday, which basically means there was no religious connotation to it. Yeah, I don't know. I should mention at this point, I'm not a scholar of religion at all. I haven't read a ton about it. If you do want to read more about religion, though, there's a couple books that I could recommend. This is Heresy in the Later Middle Ages, Part 1. Okay? You could read that one. Or Heresy in the Later Middle Ages, Part 2. Look at that. Second volume. Or, okay, if you're more interested in what your mind does with religion, this is The Psychology of Religion. It's a textbook. Good read. Good read. I read it in the forest. Okay, this one's an interesting one. I don't want to spoil it. This one is for if you aren't super big on religion and you kind of want the anti-religion of religion. This is called the Passover Plot. It essentially, to my understanding, argues that Jesus knew what he was doing and he was lying. Jesus was a smart guy that looked at all this and he was like, yo, I could just say that I'm the Messiah and people might believe me. And then people did believe him. And that's kind of the stance that this book is. Anyways, those are my little book recs of the day. Thank you. Thank you. Let's talk Abraham. Again, guys, I don't know a lot about this. So we're kind of just going because I felt like it at this point. Judaism, they believe that the Messiah has not come. Okay? Don't ask. Okay? Don't ask. With Christianity, they believe that the Messiah was Jesus. Okay? They also believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Somehow God, but human at the same time. We'll get into that later, though. And then you have Islam. Islam believes that the Messiah was Jesus, but the Prophet Muhammad was the final messenger. There were several prophets, and he was the final messenger. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Who's Jesus, you ask? Well, let me answer. But before I answer, let's hear from my friend, your friend, our friend, Philomena Kunk on Jesus.
Humans craved enlightenment. To find it, they'd need a spiritual role model, an icon, an almost Christ-like figure. And as luck would have it, someone fitting that bill was about to arrive. None other than Mr. Jesus Christ.
An icon who was almost as revered back then
as Beyoncé is today. Jesus' mum was this woman, the Virgin Mary, who one night got visited by an angel and told she'd been gotten pregnant by a Holy Ghost. Jesus was born Jewish, but soon converted to carpentry as he followed his dad into the primitive chair and table industry. What's ironic about Jesus Christ becoming a carpenter was he was actually named after the two words you're most likely to shout after hitting your thumb with a hammer. Scholars believe he was a real historical figure, like Justin Timberlake or Garfield. Whether or not they think he was the actual Son of God who performed miracles, like walking on wine or helping a deaf man see, they all agree he preached tolerance and forgiveness, a message so important his most ardent followers would eventually start killing anyone who didn't want to hear it. Mary had to give birth here on the floor and then lay him in a manger. Manger is another word for trough, and it's where we get the name for modern sandwich chain, ready to trough. He was born in a humble stable, which ironically isn't a stable environment for a baby, unless it's a baby donkey, which if records are to be believed, Jesus wasn't. In fact, as this actual painting makes clear, when Christ was born, he had a magic flaming circle on his head. Jesus was killed because people didn't like what he was saying, so could you call him the first celebrity victim of cancel culture?
I think cancel culture would sort of require the idea that people really saw Jesus as standing for something and they were sure they knew what it was.
Oh, no, sorry, that wasn't a question. I'm literally asking if you could call him the first celebrity victim of cancel culture for our show. Down that lens there. Just, you know, it's for a credit sequence with punchy sound bites in it. Off you go. Down that lens.
Okay, down this lens.
Yeah.
You might even say Jesus was the first celebrity victim of cancel culture.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, now that we know who Jesus is, thanks to Philomena Kunk, let's try to understand Jesus, okay? So Christians believe, this is kind of deep, so if you don't understand, that's totally fine. Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God, but does that mean that Jesus is God? And we have kind of a yes and kind of a no on that. We have a bunch of bishops that meet at the Council of Chalcedon, and this is basically where people are going to say, essentially, there's the Nestorians and there's the Monophysites. The Nestorian, whoa. Was that the flying spaghetti monster? Anyways, so the Nestorians, checks notes. They say that Jesus was strictly man until he died, at which point he becomes also divine. The Monophysites, though, they believe that Jesus was both divine and man at the same time, the two forms. So this was resolved with the Council of Chalcedon. Let me check my notes again. Where they said that Jesus has two natures, but is one person. The person, Jesus, had the divine side and the man side. And that was kind of the attempt to unite the Nestorians and the Monophysites. Both of them did unite, but they united against the Council of Chalcedon. So we are no closer to understanding Jesus than we were before the council. Now, if you want to try to figure out for yourself which one it is, there's this great book that talks about it a lot. It's called the Bible. You may have heard of it. You could read that. Decide for yourself. Let's get into the slap of Anagni. Now, I know what you're thinking, Madeline, what does that mean? Well, read the script, guys. That's pretty much what it means. Okay, the slap of Anagni was the buildup, or it was the conclusion of a buildup of a power difference between Philip IV of France and Pope Boniface VIII. Let's go through this. Okay, so we have Phil, who's Philip IV of France. He starts taxing the churches so that he can get money for a war. And Boniface, the Pope, he's like, no, like, you can tax the churches. I get that. You need money. You cannot use that, though, for war. You can't use religious money to kill people, you know? And Phil, he's like, I'll do what I want. You're like, thank you for the opinion, but I'll take it from here. This is my kingdom. And so he stops. And Boniface is still like, no, you can't do that. That's not how this works. I am above you. God has put popes over kings. And Phil says, okay, watch this. So he just stops sending him money. And so Boniface is like, fine, send me money. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Just we need money. And wait, I feel like I missed something in these notes here. Oh, no. All right. I'm just not intelligent. Okay. So that happens. Right now, Phil has the upper hand on the Pope. Phil then arrests a bishop in France. I can't remember what for, but again, Boniface is like, hey, you can't do this. All right. This is under my jurisdiction. I am the Pope. That man is a bishop. Okay. Let me regulate my people. You regulate your people. And at this point, Boniface is like, the term was unam sanctam. It's Latin, and it basically says exactly what the meme says, and exactly as I've said before. God set the Pope over kings. Kings are subject to the Pope. And then you have, everything beneath that. But Phil is like, dude, you aren't even supposed to be the Pope right now. And that was for a bunch of other reasons that it would take way too long to explain here. But Phil is like, you are not a legitimate Pope. I don't need to listen to you. In fact, you're under arrest. What right did he have to arrest the Pope? Absolutely no right. But he did. He sent his people out. One of them is Sciarra Colonna here, represented as Batman. He sends the people there, and they arrest the Pope. They go into the papal palace and they arrest him. And the Pope is like, you can't arrest me. And so Philip's men slapped him. It's the romanticized. It didn't actually happen. There was no slap. Most likely what happened was they beat the crap out of him. And the people of Anagni showed up and they were like, you can't do that to the Pope. So they chased him out of town. The Pope ended up dying. And basically the legacy that this set is that the sanctity of the Pope is crushed. Okay. We now know that the Pope is a human being and things can happen to the Pope just like things happen to the rest of human beings. Okay. Tragedy can happen. The slap of Anagni is a romanticized thing. We can get into romanticism another time. It's a philosophy. It's a philosophy I particularly enjoy in my day-to-day life. But it's too deep for this conversation. What you need to know, there was no slap. Okay, this actually happened. Some people think September 8th. Some people think September 7th. September 7th is my birthday. This was like 1308 or something. So, it was a little bit before I was born, but still on the date of my birth, except like 600 something years earlier. What's next? What is next? Aquinas and Scotus. Okay, Duns Scotus and Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas, he was a Franciscan, I believe, maybe a Dominican. And he said, guys, in order to truly understand God, we need to understand the laws of nature. We need to understand Aristotle. Through schooling, secular schooling without God, we will better understand God. And Duns Scotus, he was like, no, that's not how it works. God is not limited to the laws of nature. And they had arguments on each side. Thomas Aquinas, if he were here today and everything, he would say, where's it? Got my chapstick right here. He would say, if I drop this chapstick, it's going to go down, right? Boom, it did. Why did it do that? Not because of the laws of nature, but because of the laws of nature that God put in place. This is how Thomas Aquinas understood God. And Duns Scotus, he would be like, no, it's probably going to go down, but who knows? Might go up. You know, this is an oversimplification. Then you have William of Ockham. Ockham kind of said the same things as Duns Scotus was saying. He just said it a little differently. What else we got? Oh, the schism. All right. So, whoa. The flying spaghetti monster is back. Jeepers. All right. Okay. The schism, the great schism. What is a schism? They split up, okay? The Catholic Church, which was the Christian church for a while, it had been like the only church. There was the Orthodox Church, okay, and Catholicism started to split. There's old Catholic. Anyways, there was no, if you said you were Christian, that would mean you were a Catholic up until this started to happen. Martin Luther, who was a Catholic, okay, he said there are quite a few things that are bad about the church, and we need to fix that. His goal was to purify the church. And so he, as the meme shows right here, he wrote out everything that he thought was wrong with the church, 95 things that he thought was wrong. And he went to a church door and he just hammered that sucker in. Said, this is what's wrong. The church saw this and they were like, what are you doing? Trying to ruin our church? And he was like, I'm not trying to ruin the church. The church is ruined. I'm trying to fix the church. Martin Luther said that. And the church was like, nope, you're banned. You're banished. Be gone. And so he's like, what the heck? So anyways, Martin Luther started the Lutheran Church. Okay. This started the whole Protestant Reformation. This started the whole thing of we no longer have a direct line from Peter to the Pope. Well, we still do, but that's only one church. That's the Catholic Church. Now we have the Lutheran Church, and more churches are going to come out of this. The meme on the right here, this one, this is Henry VIII. Okay, he's the king that everybody thinks of. He says, hey, can I divorce my wife? The Pope says, no, that's bad. And then King Henry, he's like, oh, watch this. Here's the thing. They weren't actually divorces. If you look into royal history, they were annulments. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. That's the order that Henry's wives met their fate. And so he kept wanting these annulments. He was like, actually, this wife is dumb for this reason. This wife's dumb for that reason. He was just going through them. And the Pope was like, dude, you got to pick a woman. Like, stick with one. And so he said, no, I'm not going to. I don't need to listen to you. I'm the King of England. And if the church is in England, then it's the Church of England. I don't give a crap about your church. So he starts his own church, part of the whole Protestant Reformation thing. This is extremely important in British history. And if you've studied history, you know what is important to British history is important to American history. Maybe we'll do a group on that sometimes. What else? What else we got? Oh, I haven't done these slides yet. You know what? Screw it. Okay. Just going to make myself real big here. Cool. Colonization and conversion. We kind of went over this a little bit last week. Let's talk a little bit more about it, though. You know what? I've been talking for a while. Let's take a break and let's hear a beautiful song from Sister Mary Clarence and her choir.
Marata, Sanctus, Sanctus Dominus, Virgo Spice Mater Aspice, Sanctus, Sanctus Dominus.
Okay, so I just uploaded that. I realize we are quickly running out of time. I'm doing a lot of talking. So colonization, conversion, as we showed, let me pull the map up again. So Christianity was in Europe. Europe, as we know, started to colonize around here. So Christianity is very prevalent in the Americas. That's pretty much what you need to know. Conversion happened as we got here. Europeans tried to convert the natives. Some natives converted. Some of them converted under duress, and others didn't convert and continued with their own religion and their own faith, which is fine. But Christianity became the dominant force here. That's what we're trying to get at. So let's see here. Schism, conversion, counterculture. We have this status quo now. Christianity is the thing. That's what's driving religion in the West. It's Judeo-Christian values is what our Constitution was written with. That and, of course, Lockean and Montesquieu principles. But that's political philosophy. That's a different thing. The status quo is Christianity. And as we all know from High School Musical, I was going to play the song, but I mean, we're running out of time. If you want to be cool, follow one simple rule. Don't mess with the flow. Oh no, stick to the status quo. But people didn't start to do that. We've seen Christianity, the rates of people that are Christian have started to decline. And I mean, the 1890s were pretty good for questioning Christianity. Around the times of the founders, you know, Benjamin Franklin was not a Christian. He was a deist. But I'm not even going to talk about deism today. I don't know why I mentioned that. But we started to see different things form that don't have necessarily the structure of the Abrahamic religions, but they have faith structures that are opposed to that of the Abrahamic religions. Let's look at some of these. We have Wicca. What does any given Wicca believe? Who knows? Ask a Wicca, or a Wiccan, as I was. It's very intrinsic. It's focused on kind of self-healing and just being good to things. It's focused very much on magic, not magic like, is this your card? Magic as in the great spirit of nature. You know, some of them, they call it Mother Nature. Some Wiccans say Father Sky. It really depends on how that individual person chooses to worship. There's a lot of universal natural worship here. And the ideal of a Wiccan is, I need to put out good into the universe so that good comes back to me. If I am good to the earth, that creates an earth that is capable of being good back to me. If we abuse the earth, you know, if we take this in a super literal sense, if we abuse the earth and we keep polluting, the earth cannot be kind to us. It doesn't have the facility to be kind to us if we pollute it. And so Wiccans like to take this philosophy and apply it to people too. If you are nothing but rude to people, there is no reason to expect that they are going to be anything but rude back. So you try to, you know, give positivity to get positivity and spread positivity. Satanism. Satanism, common misconception is that Satanists worship Satan. They don't. These are the 7 tenets of Satanism. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures. Okay, same thing as like the Wiccans, be nice to things. The second tenet, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over all laws and institutions. That means real justice is, you should strive to get real justice, even if your government, even if your state is not doing that. Say the government is unjustly persecuting certain people. A Satanist would sit in protest of that institution. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. You cannot tell another person what to do with their body. The freedoms of others should be respected. You cannot tell another person how to act within their freedoms. You don't have the freedom to, do harm onto anybody. But as long as somebody else isn't doing harm unto you, you should not be telling that person what to do. Belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. That means take the things that we know, the things for a fact. And if there are things beyond what we know for a fact, then you can start to put your own belief structure in there. 6, people are fallible. This means people can make mistakes. So don't hold it against somebody forever. Human beings aren't perfect. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. That is pretty much what it means. Like these 7 things, they're set, but they're not set in stone. If one thing for the natural good isn't 100% in accordance with this, that's fine. Keynote, they don't worship Satan. It's called Satanism as part of the counterculture movement. What else we got? Atheism, the belief that there is not a God or the lack of a belief in a God. That's pretty much it. There is no structure to atheism. Generally speaking, atheists believe or put their faith much more in the scientific community than in the religious community. But again, it's a very individual thing. There is no pope of atheism to tell all atheists how to think. As far as Jedi goes, let's let y'all enjoy that. Jedi believe in the Force. Okay. To explain this one, I'm just going to play a video, an interview. Okay.
So Jedi is a person who follows the ideology or the idiosyncrasies of the philosophical part of or the spiritual part of the Jedi Knights in the Star Wars universe, but in a real-life practical approach. So,
can you speak in English? What does that mean?
It means that, meditation, mindfulness, doing good, trying to help fellow man, moving society forward in a positive way, and being the peacekeeper within the entire universe, really.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're the peacekeeper in the entire universe.
I never said I'm just the only one, but we strive.
It's slightly overstating your position in the firmament. I'm not being funny, but to call yourself the peacekeeper of the entire universe seems a little overstating your powers.
Not really. I think we all have it's like saying the neighbourhood watch. We've got going to somebody's house who's part of the neighbourhood watch saying, really, you watch the entire neighbourhood? Don't be silly. No, we all have a role to play. We all do our part for it. So we're part of a community of people who are peacekeepers. We are people who promote peace and harmony. And it's the role that you take on when you're doing something, when you're part of this movement or this philosophical.
And do you view it as a religion?
Well, it's a great question. To me, I would say it's an applied life philosophy. That people could take on board as a religion or a faith.
But do you view it as a religion?
I would say that.
Do you think, because we're going to come to Caroline in a moment, she's a Catholic like me.
Yes.
Right? We take our religion seriously.
You call it the Church of Jediism.
Right,
you clearly
absolutely.
see it as a religion.
Yes or no?
Church is actually, you've asked 3 questions.
We haven't answered it yet. Is it a religion?
Let me speak and I'll tell you. So yes, it is a religion in the sense that religion is something you do on a religious practice, which is a regular basis of a faith built on something that is potentially supernatural. Buddhism is a religion, but non-deity based, non-dogmatic, and this is where we find the basis.
So is it you're agreeing?
There's a fierce debate about whether Buddhism is a religion or a philosophy, and that's the same with us. Yeah. We are for people who...
So you do equate yourselves, Jediism, with Buddhism? You think you're of equal merit?
We equate ourselves with every religion. We're all paths to the same source, spirit, energy. All religions are beautiful. Within our faith, we have Catholics, we have atheists, we have humanists, we have Jews. all sorts.
At the heart of Buddhism is the wisdom of the Buddha. So what is at the heart of Jediism?
The Force,
It's the Force, which
which
is
is spirit.
Divorce?
It's
the Force.
it's spirit. It's the eternal part of you, the part of you that's separate from your body, which some believe goes on after death. It's the part of you that dreams, thinks, feels.
Creativity.
All right, Caroline,
Creativity.
look, I think this is a load of old guff, right? Because I'm not into Star Wars, don't know what Jedism is really about. However, let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Why are they not entitled, actually, to portray a group that has 500,000 followers as to be of equal merit to any other religion, if that's what they want to perceive themselves to be?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, Star Wars, Jediism, I love Star Wars, I love the franchise, but it's science fiction, it's pure fantasy.
And aren't all religions based on
Well,
stories that, I
when
mean,
you
the
look
Garden
at-
of Eden, Noah,
When you look at, say, with
that's not fantasy?
Well, actually, if you look at Christianity, for example, just to name one, you know, the person of Jesus Christ is a historic figure.
Well,
you know, and
that's debatable, though.
no, there is a lot of there's historical. Let's not.
You're saying Jesus Christ doesn't exist?
Hey, I never said that. I said
Well,
that
you
it's
just
debatable.
said that.
It's debatable in the same way that you
Well,
can debate.
No,
which
it's
side of the
not.
hang on. Which side of the debate are you on? Does Jesus Christ exist or not?
I have an open mind. That's a potential that
But it's
Jesus Christ may not
fundamental
have
to the
existed.
difference between the two. The argument against Jediism is it is based on complete invented stuff
Well,
for a Star
okay,
Wars
Every
franchise.
Here's an
religion.
idea.
Do you, Daniel, just to
Yeah, okay.
clarify,
Sure, of course.
do you believe Jesus Christ existed or not?
I believe that I'm always on the fence. You have to have an open mind. There's a potential that he could not have
Get off
existed.
the fence and give me a straight answer.
Well, life is
You're
not that
supposed to be
straight.
inspiring the entire universe.
I am, and
You
I'm
can't
supposed to
answer
be able
a
to think
straight
for
Of course
themselves.
he
There is
existed,
that-
just as Buddha and
Direct
Muhammad.
Teresa, did Jesus Christ exist?
Of course. But
Okay, so he existed, and you do accept that nobody in the Jedi firmament is real
This
or
is all
existed,
the figment
right?
of George Lucas's imagination.
Well, actually, no. He
Is
took
he
George,
real?
yeah, but George
Is he
Lucas
your
took the
God?
idea. No, of course not.
We all
no.
have the potential to be heavenly spirit.
Yeah.
All of us
But
have.
who is real in the Jedi firmament? Where's
we
the
are.
real one?
We are.
People-
What is
people
real
who-
here?
Who's your leader?
Well, it must be,
He
it
is.
must be
At the
George
moment.
Lucas, because he's the one who
No,
came up with it.
George Lucas put
He is
an
the
idea.
Caroline and I have Jesus Christ as our
No,
religious
I would
spiritual
not
role model.
equate
No,
Daniel
no,
with
And
no,
you're
not in any
suggesting
way,
that
no,
the Jedi movement has
He
Daniel
was the one
No.
who
with his
saw-
saber. Huh? I mean,
No,
seriously?
but it's not.
And the other,
Caroline.
He was the one
I
who
think
came forward and said
the
all
other thing
religions
to bear
are
in mind, okay, is Star Wars is a hodgepodge, okay, of different
Exactly. All
different
religions
religions
are.
and spiritualities. You know,
All
you've got a bit
religions
of
are
Eastern,
derivative.
you've got a bit of Eastern mysticism in there. But there's no kind of belief system in terms of, so every other religion has a creation myth or, you know, a creation story. It has a deity. It has
We have
a
not
form.
every-
not every religion
it has a
Not
form
every
of
religion
worship.
has a
The
deity.
Force is just made up.
No, it's-
There's no kind of scientific
The
or
Force is
rational
spirit.
basis
Of course,
for
Does
it.
George Lucas endorse your religion?
Absolutely not. I've never had any communication with George Lucas.
He's the person who came up with all the ideas.
There's a button at the bottom.
Piers, do you want to fight? Let's do it. Let's do
Well,
it.
how do you turn it on?
The Force
Well,
is...
you have to have the Force, Piers, and if you don't
Yeah,
have the
there's a
Force, you
button,
can't
there's a
do
button.
it.
Just...
And I just,
Why do you turn it on?
If you
There's a
cut my
button.
arm off with
That's
that,
it.
I'm going to be terribly upset.
It's not real, Susanna, honestly. Don't worry.
Listen, I've heard the argument.
Let's
from,
go.
The Force is
Do
key.
it. Do it.
Me and you. It's
dear.
a long time coming.
This could get...
You know what?
This could get not careful.
Okay, I got ready on the dress down guy.
Use the Force, Piers, use the Force.
Use the
Yeah.
Force.
Let me tell you.
I'm not sure who won.
Let me tell you.
All right, team, let's finish this up now. Conclusion. We had a bunch of Christianity. We saw the history of Christianity somewhat. Guys, there is so much Christian history. I just did the parts that I know a lot about, the parts that I thought y'all would think are interesting. There is so much that we could talk about. We could do a whole year of history group just on the history of Christianity. There's so much out there. But the counterculture movements that started, I can do another group more specific to those, because these are really a 20th century thing. Some of them obviously have roots much earlier, like Wicca goes back to Middle Ages and even before the Middle Ages, actually. But these are the counterculture movements. They're not counter-Christian. They're counter-norm. They are, the movement is against the fact that there is an institutionalization of the church. It's a very romantic philosophy, to use that again. You know, Rousseau probably may have been big. I don't know. Rousseau may have agreed with this. That's more philosophy, though, and you guys have told me you don't want philosophy groups, so I'm going to try to steer clear of that. But just know that this is a movement towards the self and towards positivity, all these things, Satanism, to an extent, some sects of atheism, some belief structures under atheism, the Wicca, you know, it's all a pro-positive, pro-like self, pro-nature. It's saying I am not a subject to a church. I am a subject to myself in the earth. You know, and that's pretty much it. Anyways, we are really running out of time here. So I'm going to cut us off there. Team, have a great night and have a great week. If I don't see y'all again, I'm not going to be here this next week. So please let me know what you guys want to do for history group, and I'll try my best to make something fun for you guys. Okay. Thank you. God bless.
Hey, Scotty. Jesus, man.